దేవుని పరిశుద్ధ నామమునకు స్తోత్రములు కలుగును గాక. ప్రభునందు ప్రియమైన దేవుని సంగమ సహోదరి సహోదరులారా, ఈ సాయంకాల సమయంలో అంకుల్ ఇమ్మాన్యుయల్ గారి యొక్క 90వ పుట్టుక దినంలో దేవుని వాక్యాన్ని పంచుకోవడానికి ప్రభు నాకు ఇచ్చినటువంటి ఈ అవకాశం, ఈ భాగ్యం బట్టి ప్రభు వందనాలు తెలియజేస్తా ఉన్నాను. అంకుల్ ఇమ్మాన్యుయల్ గారికి ప్రత్యేకంగా మరి బర్త్డే శుభాకాంక్షలు తెలియజేస్తాను. ఆ విషయమే బ్లెస్డ్, వెరీ హ్యాపీ బర్త్డే. మరి అంకుల్ వయసు ముందు, అంకుల్ యొక్క అనుభవం ముందు నిలబడటానికి I'm literally trembling. I don't tremble on the stage at all. I'm known as a speaker, but this evening I'm literally trembling to speak on this very blessed occasion of celebrating 90th birthday of Uncle. Uncle and my dad are very close friends, and they grew up not as friends, they grew up as brothers. And people always used to identify my dad and uncle as brothers. So we always consider him as my babai, my next to my dad. After passing away of my dad, we looked upon uncle for many suggestions and advices. For today's meditation, let us continue to look to the psalm that we have gone through, Psalm 92. It's a psalm that talks about, it's a meditation on that the people of Israel did on a day of Sabbath. And the title of this psalm could be given as this font of every blessing. If we can go back home, retaining this psalm in our mind, I would suggest that this psalm can be divided into 3 parts and 3 major themes. One is celebrating. We are celebrating Uncle's birthday, and we are celebrating the faithfulness of God. But in this psalm we see celebrating the very being of God, the nature of God, and the works of God. The nature of God and the works of God. The word of God and the deed of God. And it is a celebrating God, worshipping the very excellent, awesome, unfathomable nature of God. That's what we see. And we see in verse 18, I would really like to read that verse. Verse 18 talks about, in Telugu it says, Yehovah Nive Nityamu Mahonatuduga Nundu. Here, Yehovah Nive Nityamu Mahonatuduga Nundu. You are supreme being. You are supreme in everything that you do. The supremacy of God, the nature of God, and the works of God, we see here. And the psalmist worships God and gives praises and thanksgiving for who God is and what God has done. And in the second section of the psalm, he suddenly brings in the wicked. The wicked and their birth and their destiny. And we see that how he has used different allegories to talk about the wicked, the people. And in the third section we see that the righteous, the blessings that God brings upon and pours upon the righteous. And therefore the psalmist rejoices of how the righteous has been blessed. And the concluding verse, I would say that In order to only an upright person can proclaim the uprightness of God. Only a righteous person through his life can declare and testify the righteousness of God. So the righteous person is through his life and what God has done through his life is a testimony of God's righteousness and God's goodness. So this is the whole psalm in a nutshell. And I would say, a Baptist Pentecostal preacher, I would say, in terms of taking of the time. I always say Baptist preacher preaches for 45 minutes and Pentecostal preachers preaches for 1 hour. But the time is given here is for 20 minutes. I say the Lutherans and Anglican preaches for 20 minutes. So I try to make myself an Anglican preacher and try to wind up in 15 minutes time. And we see this in this psalm. It says that it is good to worship the Lord. Indeed, it is good to worship the Lord. And one of the person, he says that he's William Gurney, an English author of the 17th century. He made this. Day in and day out. In the morning and the evening. That's what Uncle had done and Auntie had done. Every morning they worship God and even in the night. It is a spiritual discipline and it is a spiritual inner hunger to go to the presence of God each day as the sun rises, rise and go and worship. And William Gurney said this: he that takes no care to set forth God's portion of time in the morning does not only rob God of his due, but is a thief to himself all the day after losing the blessings which a faithful prayer might bring from heaven on his undertakings. And he that closeth his eyes at night without prayer lies down before his bed is made. It is as simple as that. దేవుని యొక్క ఆశీర్వాదాలు, పరలోకపు ఆశీర్వాదాలు ఆయన తీసుకుని రావడానికి ఆయన సిద్ధంగా ఉన్నాడు. ప్రార్థన చేయని వాడు వాటన్నిటిని కూడా కోల్పోతాడు. రాత్రి సమయంలో పడక మీద పడుకుని నిద్రపోయేవాడు, ప్రార్థన చేయకుండా నిద్రపోయేవాడు పడకలు సరి చేసుకోవాలంటే రాత్రికాలపు ఆశీర్వాదాలను కోల్పోతాడు అనే భావాన్ని ఈ యొక్క రచయిత చెప్తున్నారు. How wonderful it is. When we see the testimony of Uncle, in the morning and the evening, ఉదయమున నీ కృపను ప్రతి రాత్రి నీ విశ్వాస్యతను పరితంతుల స్వరమండలముతోనూ గంభీర ధ్వనిగల సితారతోనూ ప్రచురించుట మంచిది. It's a Christian discipline. It's God's children's discipline to rise up and worship God, give thanks to God, and surrender the day before God. One of the theologians said, a Hindu would go every day morning to the riverside, and even before it dawns, he goes up and takes the waters up and he worships. A Roman makes a room in his home to go and worship their idol. It's so sad. And he says that a Christian would never get up from his bed to worship and give thanks to God. The righteous people, they worship God in the morning and in the evening. His faithfulness and His grace. How do we prepare? How do we worship God? How do we go to God? In order to go to God, we need to prepare ourselves. There is a preparation that demands Without preparation, we cannot really go to God. And you need to have the breadth of the thought. What to say to the Master this morning. What to say to the Master this evening. The breadth of the thought. And then a deep reverence we need to have in order to go to God. A righteous person is the one who proclaims the very faithfulness of God, the very goodness of God. And we see that. And as a result of constantly being in communion with God, how the Lord brings forth His blessings. And this evening, as many of us who are sitting here are young people, and for all of us, and the teenagers, for all of us, Uncle is a living testimony. And the fruits that he received as a result of walking with God. What a worship! And we see he worshipped the faithfulness of God in variety, in all the music. He worshipped God with all deep reverence. He worshipped God, and he worshipped God of His holiness. He worshipped God. He saw God as an omniscient God, and he saw God as an omnipotent God. He saw God, a God who protects. He saw God as a provider. So therefore, he worshipped God. Dear friends, this morning, one of the blessings that we receive from Uncle's life is that he worshipped God. He called. He worshipped God. He praised God all of his life, filled with thanksgiving. Not in the times of blessings, but even in the times of trouble. I've seen Uncle as an young lad, as growing up, some of the areas, because we know both the families are very close to us, and we know the dark periods of Uncle's family life, and how Uncle and Aunt has gone through. But then they never murmured against God. They never used a bad word against God. They never expressed their resentment. But then what they did is, because I am the living witness of what had happened and how they testified. They said God is good and He is faithful, and they lean on to the goodness of God. And they recollected every visit that I made to Uncle's home, it is primarily to talk to Uncle. Sam and me, we used to talk in different places outside, but Uncle, if I go to Uncle's house, is the only person with whom I usually talk is Uncle. He used to narrate, remind, recollect what the Lord has done in his life. And here we see, as we see that God outside of us as an absolute being with holiness, nature, faithful, good God, and we see that that's the God is doing, and He has done in the history. There are many things, but the same God has chosen us to do His works, and that causes us to worship. A righteous person always worship God. And we see one of the classic examples from the book of Job. Job himself, even in the darkest moments of his life, he never blasphemed the name of God. Rather, he worshipped God and he thanked God for losing. We thank God for gaining, but he is Job who worship God and he thanked God for losing all his wealth, losing his children, and he was made all alone, all sickness, and he said, thank God. That's the nature of a righteous person. And suddenly the psalmist brings up from verse 6 to 9, he suddenly brings up the wicked people. And he says that fools cannot really understand. We know that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of the wisdom. There is a relationship between the fear of the Lord and the beginning of the fear of the Lord and the wisdom. There is a relationship between irreverence to God and the foolishness. And that's why the Bible says, the wicked says that there is no God. Because the fool says that there is no God. Because his very attitude of irreverence causes him to be an atheist. And here we see that the fool cannot understand the unfathomable nature of God, the mighty deeds of God. And he says that they're scattered, and they're destroyed. And he gives an allegory here, and he says that they flourish like a grass. Here are the two allegories that he brings up. One is a plant, a cedar plant, and a palm tree, the two trees, and the second one is the grass. Both of them are green in nature. Both of them have life. If both of them go through they're exposed to the sun and the leaves and the physiological action of photosynthesis takes place, the cedar trees grows and the palm tree grows. And here is the grass, it also grows. And we see that my dad worked in different villages, in rocky places, and we have a very beautiful experience. Like during the rainy season, we see that a barren gray color or a dark color mountain suddenly becomes green. Turns green, all the small grass. And it stays for a couple of weeks. When a hot sun comes up, the whole grass goes away. He says that, yes, the wicked prospers. The wicked prosper for no reason. The reason could be them. The wicked prospers, maybe the devil makes them prosper, as devil has the power to bring some wealth, but then soon they go away. They're destroyed, and in Psalm 1 it says the wicked are scattered like a chaff. That's the picture. When you take you can visualize the chaff, with one blow, all the chaff goes away. The temporariness, the fragileness, the limitedness of the wicked. They prosper like a grass. And even in Psalm 90, it has been said the same thing. The wicked prospers like grass. The Bible, whenever it uses the prosperity of the wicked, the Bible uses as a grass. It's temporary. It's momentary. It's not lifelong. It's not from generation to generation. And now, contrasted to that, in verse 10, he says that you have made my horn like the horn of unicorn. The unicorn has a horn here, which is the symbol of strength and victory. No one can really stand before a unicorn. No one can stand before a person of integrity. Though the person of integrity, a righteous person, goes through a period of suffering, but God makes a righteous person as a horn. He gives him a horn of unicorn. He cannot stand. The ultimate victory belongs to the righteous person. And you are anointed with the new oil. The anointing, the symbol of that royalness. God anoints us. But when God anoints us with a purpose, no one can really trash that on. When God anoints us for a cause, no one can really take them away. You anoint with a new oil, and you made me like a unicorn, horn of unicorn. There's a victory. In Psalm 146 it says that we do not trust in the kings, we do not trust in the chariots, but we trust in the God. The victory comes to us from the Lord. We are victorious because the Lord is on our side, and God always wants the righteous to be victorious. There is no moment of defeat for the righteous. For the righteous, there are moments of suffering, there are moments of dark period, there are moments of silence, there is a moment of hiding, but there is no defeat for the righteous. God gives the victory. He is talking about how God blesses the victory. Undisputable. No enemy can stand before the righteous. That's what the psalmist articulates even in Psalm 91. You trample them, the snakes and the wild snakes. Defense. And then he further goes down in verse 12 and 13. He says that the palm tree and the cedar tree. Now I would like to see the contrast between both the cedar and palm tree with the grass. There are at least most of the people we think this is the longevity between there's a contrast between longevity and shortness. గడ్డికి దేవదారు వృక్షానికి మరి ఆ యొక్క ఖర్జూర వృక్షానికి ఉన్న తేడా ఏంటంటే అది చాలా కాలం ఉంటుంది, గడ్డి తక్కువ కాలం ఉంటుంది. That's the first contrast. But there are other contrasts that we could see between the cedar tree and the palm tree, the cedar tree, palm tree with the grass, is that the nobility. The cedar tree and the palm trees they signifies the nobility, the noble. They're planted in the royal places. And whenever there is a mention of nobility, and they talk about the cedar tree and the palm tree. But whereas the grass, only cattle eats the grass. Cedar tree and palm trees are used in the royal places and in the temple. No grass is used in the temple of the royal places. That grass is meant for the cattle to eat. Cedar trees and palm trees are used for noble purposes. Or you think you can prosper materialistically, but here is a righteous person. He grows slowly, but then it is the nobility. He's being used for a higher purpose, and its utility. So I would say that it's the longevity, it's the nobility, and utility. Three contrasts we see here. And here is a righteous person. We're celebrating his life. As we're celebrating his life, we're also celebrating the goodness of God and faithfulness of God, the mercies of God, and the doings of God in his life and through his life. And we know God had used Uncle Emmanuel for higher purposes. And in the layman's evangelical fellowship, when Uncle trusted in the Lord, I know my dad told me so many things because they lived like brothers. And Uncle used to write the messages of late Daniel, and he used to do the editor works of